And if people realized Zionism is the creation of the Rothschild family, who are a major, major Illuminati family, along with many others, and interact with very closely in many ways with the Rockefellers. It was the Rothschilds who spent millions, £6 million pounds back in the 50s to build the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. It was the Rothschilds who built the Supreme Court in Jerusalem with all its massive Illuminati symbolism, which is well shown on the internet. This is a fiefdom of the Rothschilds, and Zionism has caused more mayhem and strife for Jewish people as anybody else. Why is there no peace in Israel? Because for Jewish people as well as Palestinians, because Zionism doesn't want it. That's why. Because there are plans to use Israel and use the Jewish people in Israel to manifest a massive conflict which will lead to a third world war, which is what these guys are after. And Rahm Emanuel is the man who pulls the strings of Barack Obama, along with this guy, another Zionist, called David Axelrod. He was the guy that ran the whole of, masterminded the whole of the election campaign, both against Hillary Clinton and against John McCain. And it's Axelrod that is responsible for the words that appear on the teleprompter screens that Barack Obama reads. And he reads them so robot-like, in terms of not having a thought in his head, that last week, maybe 10 days ago, he thanked himself for inviting everybody to a reception because someone else's speech was on the teleprompter instead of his by mistake. It was the Irish Prime Minister was there on St. Patrick's Day. People are starting to call him the teleprompter president. It's so bloody obvious. That's why he never looks ahead. It's right, left, because that's where the screens are. Hello, Barack, over here. Sorry, I'm reading. And this is why you're getting the policy of Obama saying Palestinian refugees belong to their own state and do not have a literal right to return to Israel. He's talking about the people who fled, 800,000 of them, at the time of the bombing Israel into existence in 1948, and have never allowed to come back to their own land. People forget about this. White phosphorus, pepper bombing, the most crowded piece of land on the planet, the Gaza Strip. We don't target civilians, we just bomb where they live. Unbelievable. We're just protecting ourselves. No, it's a slaughter. I know I'm hearing, oh, there's a lot of anti-Israeli sentiment. Do you know something? I have a way around that. Stop slaughtering innocent people from the sky, okay? End of story. And it will go away. And this is important. This is important for what's planned to come. We now have a situation in Israel where the extreme of the extreme has taken the reins of power. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's talked about, these are his words summarized, he wants a violent reoccupation of Gaza to liquidate its elected government. And he pledges to thwart the Iranian threat once and for all. He's now got this guy, Lieberman, as his foreign minister, and this man's so far right, he topples over, right? And he's got Barak as the defense minister in this new government, and he was defense minister that oversaw the pepper bombing of the Gaza Strip. And this is Martin van Creveld. He's a well-known historian in Israel, and this is what he said publicly. We possess several hundred atomic warheads and rockets and can launch them at targets in all directions, perhaps even at Rome. Most European capitals are targets for our Air Force. We have the capability to take the world down with us, and I can assure you that that will happen before Israel goes under. They have a policy of not saying if they've got nuclear weapons or they haven't. They just don't talk about it. And a guy called Mordecai Vanunu, a wonderful Israeli man, went to jail for, I think it was 18 years, for exposing the fact publicly that they did have nuclear weapons. And now we've got this thing, oh, Iran's going to have nuclear weapons. What? The idea, and we're seeing it almost complete now, from the start was to drive out the Palestinian people, not be at one with them, not share power with them, not share the land with them. The green bits are Palestinian land over the period of time up to the year 2000, and it's gone on since then, as illegal settlements are put in Palestinian land. And one of the people that lives in an illegal settlement is Lieberman. As an Australian newspaper said this week, he must be the only foreign minister in the world who doesn't actually live within the borders of his own country. And the Middle East policy in Obama's administration is by Bilderberg, George Mitchell, Bilderberg, Council on Foreign Relations, by the notorious little Kissinger, Richard Holbrooke, who played a major part in breaking up the former Yugoslavia in wars, etc., so it could be absorbed into NATO and the European Union, which it is being now. He's Bilderberg Group, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. He's now in charge of Pakistan-Afghanistan policy. And this man, who is an arch-Zionist called Dennis Ross, he's now in charge of Iran policy. What it's building to is an effort, and Brzezinski is behind this among many others, to create a conflict out of the Middle East, and in this area we're looking at, to bring about a third world war. And the third world war will be, and this was been written about in the past, that there were going to be 3 world wars to bring this new world order into being, a war that would finish off the superpowers and bring the whole world under the control of a world government, which will then dictate to every country. And the personnel are in place. We're hearing, oh, he's a good guy because he's closing Guantanamo. Well, he's going to close it in a year. But I won't go through this because of time, but John Pilger here brilliantly exposes the fact that Barack Obama has actually fundamentally changed nothing. It's all rhetoric. As he said, the man of change is changing little. That ought to be front page news from Washington, but it isn't. And I have a golden rule with Obama. Again, that Hitler quote, but I have a golden rule with Obama. Ignore the words and watch the actions. If you listen to the words, you can get caught that there's change going on and he's different. Watch the actions and you'll see that there is nothing. And just to confirm that nothing has changed, there you go. Where would world politics be without Bono, eh? Where would they be? So we have this secret agenda, and we have the movie, which is just explaining away the secret agenda. And money, finance, is fundamentally one of these problem reaction solutions that we are now looking at. This crisis was brought about, engineered by not least this guy, Alan Greenspan, who was head of the Federal Reserve, Central Bank of America, but actually it's a private cartel of banks, nothing to do with the government in truth. And from the end of the kind of Reagan administration, right through Father Bush, right through the 2 Clintons, and through most of Boy Bush, this guy was head of the Federal Reserve. And he led a campaign which was mirrored around the world because of this transnational corporation I'm talking about, which took away all credible regulation on the banks and financial institutions doing what the hell they bloody liked. And it was purposely created to create enormous amounts of debt, and you could be a monkey and get a mortgage at one point. And the idea was then, when the debt had reached massive proportions, unmanageable proportions, then you crash the system. Because what you want is a massive problem which you can then add endless solutions to. Including the introduction eventually, and we're going there, of a world central bank to dictate to all global finance. And that's what we've been doing all these years, watching the game and all the rest of it. We've just been pulled in on the fishing line to get in more and more debt, so the control system can play out. And this guy, Henry Paulson, who was Treasury Secretary when the crash happened during the end of the Bush administration, he came from Goldman Sachs in 2006, and then as to save the banking system, to save the economy, orchestrated vast amounts of money to end up in the coffers of Goldman Sachs. All this money has been fired at the banks, disappeared. It's not changed things in any credible way. And again, business as usual. Bush justifying the giving the money to the banks. The government's top economists, experts warn that without immediate action by Congress, America to build the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. It was the Rothschilds who built the Supreme Court in Jerusalem with all its massive Illuminati symbolism, which is well shown on the internet. This is a fiefdom of the Rothschilds, and Zionism has caused Axelrod. He was the guy that ran the whole of, masterminded the whole of the election campaign, both against Hillary Clinton and against John McCain, and it's Axelrod that is responsible for the words that appear on the teleprompter screens that Barack Obama reads. And he reads more mayhem and strife for Jewish people as anybody else. Why is there no peace in Israel? Because for Jewish people as well as Palestinians, because Zionism doesn't want it. That's why. Because there are plans. And if people realized Zionism is the creation of the Rothschild family, who are a major, major Illuminati family, along with many others, and interact with very closely in many ways with the Rockefellers. It was the Rothschilds who spent millions, £6 million back in the 50s to use Israel and use the Jewish people in Israel to manifest a massive conflict which will lead to a third world war, which is what these guys are after. And Rahm Emanuel is the man who pulls the strings of Barack Obama, along with this guy, another Zionist, called David